I arrived before anyone else because that's how it always starts. Early enough to be useful, early enough that the house can still pretend it needs me. The kitchen was already hot, ovens on, counters wiped once and waiting to be wiped again. Balloons leaned in the corner like an afterthought. My sister's name written in looping letters on a banner my mother had bought and never unrolled. 50 guests were expected, 50 plates, 50 small proofs that the family was thriving. I washed my hands and began. No one asked me to, no one had to. Work settles on you when it's familiar. The chopping, the stirring, the carrying of trays from one room to another, these were not favors, they were gravity. I moved because there was space where I stood, and something needed to fill it. My father passed through once, phone pressed to his ear, nodding at something important elsewhere. My sister appeared briefly, hair in rollers, excitement humming off her. "You're a lifesaver," she said, already gone. My mother hovered, correcting the angle of the cake stand, tasting sauces with a spoon she did not rinse. By noon, the sink was full. By 1, my back had started to ache in that familiar way that feels like being erased slowly. I asked for help the way you do when you already know the answer, quietly, not as a challenge. "Can someone handle the salads?" I said, "just for a bit." My mother laughed. It wasn't sharp. That was the problem. "You're the only one without a real job," she said, smiling as if she'd offered a compliment. "You have the time." The sentence landed and stayed, not because it was new, because it was said in daylight, with guests arriving soon, with my hands wet and red from soap. I looked at her. She was adjusting a centerpiece, not looking back. The room kept moving. A timer chimed. Somewhere a doorbell rang too early. Something in me recalibrated. Not anger, a narrowing, as if a line had been drawn and I'd finally noticed it had been there all along. I dried my hands, slowly. I set the stack of plates I was holding down on the counter, aligning them carefully so they wouldn't tip. I didn't announce anything, I didn't explain. I smiled because that was the last reflex to go. Then I walked out. No one followed, no one noticed until I was already in the car, the house shrinking in the rearview mirror like it always did, full when I was inside it, ordinary when I wasn't. I sat there for a minute, listening to my breathing even out. I wasn't shaking. That surprised me. I made one call. The man I reached knew my name and why I was calling before I finished my first sentence. We'd spoken once before, months ago, when I was helping my sister look into permits for a community event she'd been planning and then abandoned. I asked a simple question now, clarified a detail about occupancy limits, food handling, and whether an event of this size in a private home required oversight if it was being catered informally. He asked for the address. I gave it to him. I didn't stay nearby. I drove to a cafe and sat with a glass of water I barely touched. The clock moved. Messages stacked up on my phone without sound. An hour passed. Then my sister called. Her voice was thin, stretched tight by panic. "Who did you just call?" she said. No hello. "Mom just saw him and, oh my God, she's—" She couldn't finish. I could hear people in the background, chairs scraping, a confusion that sounded expensive. I didn't fill the silence for her. "He's asking questions," she said, "about food prep, about numbers. Mom keeps saying it's just family, but he's not—" I asked a question, I said. That was true. He answered it. There was a knock in the background, a deeper voice now, calm, procedural. Authority doesn't raise itself, it doesn't need to. The party changed shape in real time. I imagined the banner still rolled, the balloons sagging. The work didn't disappear, it redistributed itself under fluorescent clarity. Someone had to account for the trays, the heat lamps, the bodies filling rooms not meant to hold them. My mother did not call me. Later, after the cafe closed around me and the afternoon softened, my father texted once, "We'll talk about this." No punctuation, no question mark. We didn't talk that night. I learned afterward that the guest list was cut in half, that the food was boxed and sent home with people who hadn't expected leftovers, that my sister cried in the bathroom, mascara streaking down her face, not because the day was ruined, but because it was smaller than promised. No one asked me to come back and fix it. That mattered more than any apology would have. In the days that followed, my mother was careful, not kind, careful. She asked instead of assumed. She noticed when I stood up from the table and cleared my own plate only. The work still existed, it always would, but it no longer lived automatically in my hands. I didn't win anything. There was no celebration, just a quiet, undeniable shift, like furniture moved slightly off-center so you can never walk through the room the same way again. And that was enough.